Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast, where we discuss all things empowering, encouraging and inspiring. My name is Yvonne Ellis. I'm an empowerment speaker, author, coach, trainer and founder of Yumi Empowerment, a company that facilitates the empowerment of people. I help people to make positive life change, live in their purpose and develop into their best version of self. I share stories, interviews, spiritual encouragement and actionable tips to empower, encourage and inspire you to live the life you want. So if you want to live the empowered life, join me each week on my podcast so we can take the journey together. Hello Empowered Lifers, welcome to episode 48 of Living the Empowered Life podcast. At the time of recording this episode, it is Sunday the 11th of September and I'm filming this recording this quite late on in the week, but it's the only time I could find to do the episode and I didn't want to miss an episode. I didn't want to ruin my running streak of, being consistent because this is episode 48 of the podcast. And I have not missed a bi-weekly episode of recording. And I really wanted to get this out because I think this episode, for those of you who may have ideas, might be of real value to you. Work is really, really busy. It's actually coming up to the busiest time of my year in terms of business because I have 2 huge events that I do at this time of year, plus other work. And also as well, I have the additional bonus, obviously, of doing my master's degree, just about to go into the 3rd kind of module of doing that. But, I can't complain, because I'm happy for work. I'm blessed to be able to use my skills and talents through my company, Yumi Empowerment, to bless people and to serve my clients. So it is all good on that front. If it's your first time listening into this podcast, I want to welcome you. I hope that you find this episode to be something of value to you. If you haven't checked out my other episodes, please do so. I talk about a range of different things to help you to live the empowered life. And to my continued supporters, as always, love you guys. Thank you for listening in. And could you all please share these episodes with anybody that you know that needs a dose of living the empowered life? I would really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe or press follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or Stitcher so that you don't miss the bi-weekly episodes. So there's been so much going on over here in the UK. If you haven't heard, the Queen of England has passed away. She passed away on Thursday the 8th of September. Really, really sad about that. She has been on the throne for 70 years. It couldn't really have been easy for her being born into such a powerful family and knowing that she would never have an ordinary life of her own. She spent all of those years, those 70 years on the throne serving others. So my condolences do go out to her family, her grandchildren, her children in this difficult time. And as I said, it's been really a weird week because 2 days before that we had Liz Truss, the new PM, being sworn in by the Queen, only for the Queen to pass 2 days later. So, it's been quite an historic week, and obviously as well the swearing in of Prince Charles, who is now King Charles III. So, for the first time in my life witnessing all this, it has been quite surreal because the Queen is the only kind of monarch I've known ever since I've been born. And it's funny because I had a funny memory of when I was growing up, my mum and dad had a huge A1 size photo of Prince Charles and Princess Diana on their engagement. I don't know if you remember it, but it was their engagement photo where she had her arm linked through his. She was wearing a navy blue suit and she had a huge sapphire and diamond ring on. And it's funny because when the Queen passed away this week, I was remembering the memory I had of that because for a lot of the older people, especially in the Black community, they really do love the royal family and my parents were no different. What else? Oh yes, I am now a certified freelance journalist. But, this has been a long time in the making. It has been a journey to even do the coursework to become a freelance journalist. It was really, really hard. And at one point, I was going to quit because I really didn't think that I could do it. And you might think that's a little bit weird because, I'm an author of 3 books. I write blogs. I do a lot of stuff to do with that stuff. So you would think that, okay, I would find it a walk in the park, but it was really, really difficult. But anyway, I've got my certification now. My freelance ID came in the post. So as soon as I start having time, I want to start trying to get articles out there, sending my articles to publications to see if they would take on my story. But predominantly the reason why I got this qualification is because I want to write content for companies. So I want to really start getting myself into that, as well as another way of having a source of income, an income stream, so that I can continue to build up the stuff I'm doing with Human Empowerment. But yeah, that's another piece of good news that's happened for me, and I hope that you guys are living the empowered life. I hope things are going really, really well for you guys. I hope that you've been able to kind of really turn some corners in your goals and things, seeing as we are coming up to now the last quarter of the year. Well, we're in the last quarter of the year, so I hope that you've been actually able to achieve at least one thing that you set out to want to do this year, because that's really, really important. And you still have plenty of time right up until midnight on the 31st 2022 to achieve and do the things you want to do. So just continue on, be encouraged, and keep focus on the prize. So today's episode, I want to talk to those of you who are idea people. Are you the type of person where you have ideas but you don't know what to do with them, or you don't know how to get the most of your ideas? Well, then listen into this episode, because I think this episode might be of benefit to you. Because today I want to talk to you about 8 things that creative people do with their ideas. And I wanted to do this episode for a little while now, but I just was thinking about the best way to do it. At first, I wanted to do a YouTube video on it, but I never quite had the time to, plan it out properly. But then I thought to myself, this episode I've been wanting to do for a while, and I need to find a way to do it. So I wanted to do a podcast episode about it, because I really do think it's important that people who are wanting to live the empowered life know that their ideas are a way that they can do that. Everything I've done has been from ideas. My books have been from ideas. Setting up my company has been an idea. This podcast has been an idea. Everything that I've done and been able to kind of make a living from has come from ideas. I want to share with you 3 quick quotes about ideas from 3 different people. The first quote is, "Everything begins with an idea." That is by Earl Nightingale. And that's very true. Everything does begin with an idea. The light bulb began with an idea. And the wonderful thing about ideas is that they're then developed and enhanced and then brought to another level. The next quote I want to share with you is, "Ideas won't keep, something must be done about them." And that is by Alfred Whitehead. That is so true. When you have an idea, you should be doing something with them. And, that can come in a variety of different ways. And the next quote I want to share with you is by Maya Angelou. And she says, "You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have." So, so true. So as I mentioned, I want to talk to you today about 8 things that creative people do with their ideas. I think it's important to talk about this because ideas are part of living the empowered life. Sometimes people can act on things and it opens up new opportunities. That was certainly the case for me when it came to my ideas. When I left my job in 2018, it was because of my idea to set up an empowerment company to empower people through resources and services, which is why I'm here today. So the first thing that creative people do with their ideas is they don't dismiss or disregard their ideas. Something that makes people do this, to disregard their ideas or to dismiss them, is because automatically they think it's stupid, or that people will think they're stupid or think it's a stupid idea. I have had ideas that have been brilliant, that have worked, and I've had ideas that have not worked. But I've never disregarded or dismissed them. So if you're somebody who has ideas, I would encourage you to not do this. Don't dismiss or don't disregard them. I would encourage you to hold on to them. The second thing that creative people do with their ideas is they document their ideas. They write them down and record them. Now, this is a practice that I've been doing for many, many, many years. I have notepads and post-it boxes full of ideas. Sometimes when I go back over my notebooks, say for instance, if I want to make a video or do a podcast and I haven't quite prepared for that, I can go back to notebooks or post-it notes that I have and find an idea that I wrote down and create an episode or create a video for it. Even if you're not ready to use them yet, it's still a good practice to do. The third thing that creative people do with their ideas is that they process their ideas. Now, I get ideas every day. God through His Holy Spirit is always giving to me ideas through inspiration. I could get ideas from reading a book, a conversation I have with somebody. Once I record my idea, I like to stew in them for a while. I revisit it, I refine it, and that is how I process my ideas. Now, processing my ideas and testing my ideas are two different things. Creative people who want to make an income or a profit off their ideas essentially have to test their ideas. It's one of the things I've been learning as well through doing this master's. Ideas are great, but to turn them into opportunities, you have to have a market for them. You have to test them. And people do that in a variety of different ways. They can make prototypes. They can get feedback on something. They can, look at whether the idea that they have is going to service a need or bring value to the person. But in the very first instance, what you should do if you have ideas is to just stew on them, process them, think about them. The fourth thing that creative people do with their ideas is to execute their ideas. So it's a bit off the back of what I just said about testing the ideas. If a creative person has tested their ideas with a market and seen that there is a need for it, or they see a market trend and they then, test the idea and they think, okay, I'm going to execute this idea. They then start to make a plan to be able to do that. They don't wait until they have the full picture or worry about whether or not it will work. In order to execute an idea, if you've got an idea, if you think that there is a market for it or you see that people are interested in it, don't wait until you have the whole picture. Don't worry about whether it will or will not work. Just go for it and see. So the fifth thing I want to share with you about ideas is that creative people use their imagination. Something happens to some people as they leave their childhood, and that is that they stop using their imagination. God has given us our minds to do amazing things. One of the ways or one of the things that He has given us as an engine to be able to act upon ideas or to be able to create ideas is our imagination. Now, your imagination's there for a reason. If you have ideas and you're stuck about thinking about how to act upon the idea or to test the idea, your imagination is going to help you to do that. As you look on things that have been done before, as you read certain things, as you gain knowledge, your imagination will start to kick in and help you to use creativity through inspiration to do something with your ideas and get inspired by things around you, because your inspiration is going to open doors for you if you tap into it and use it. So the sixth thing that creative people do with their ideas, well, they do act on them, but also as well, they're not afraid to act on them because they're not afraid of failure. They can brush off failures as just that, something they've tested out, something that they are learning lessons from. They will keep trying until one of them lands. As I mentioned, this is something that I have done with my ideas. Some of my ideas have been really successful. Some of my ideas have needed improvement. Some of my ideas have needed further research, and I've had ideas that have failed. If you've had an idea that has failed and that's put you off, I want to encourage you to continue on. Think about the lessons that you can learn from the failure of your idea. Write it down and think about what you can do different the next time. But one of the things that you should never be afraid of doing is failing. Failing doesn't mean that you are a disappointment or that, you got it wrong. It's just that some things need developing. I remember reading about Dyson as part of my master's degree when he developed the cyclone cylinder hoover. People told him it wouldn't even work, and he did thousands of prototype testing. And look at him today. Look at his Dyson products. They are successful and they're innovative. So, sometimes you have to go through a cycle of failure in order to come up with the perfect idea to bring to the perfect opportunity. So don't give up. So the next thing about ideas that creative people do is that they can make something out of nothing. When it's come to my ideas, they have just come from, as I said, inspiration, things that I've thought about, read about. Don't think you have to have all the pieces together as well at the beginning of your idea. You just have to take it one step at a time and go forward and see what you need as you go along. You're never going to have all the pieces for your idea at the beginning. But as you gain knowledge, as you gain skills, whatever it is you need, the idea will come together. And the last thing I want to share with you in regards to creative people and ideas is that sometimes they can take something that has been done and interpret it and give another take on it. So as we saw with their personal computer had been out for a while in the 80s, but then Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak decided to build an Apple Mac personal computer, which at the time was a hugely innovative thing to do. It totally changed the way that people saw personal computers and the way that people used personal computers, because up until that time they were only used for certain things. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, who took something that was already out and turned it into something that was more personal for people to use and just brought it about in a totally new and different way. And again, another example of that, when Apple decided to do the iPod, it was a take on the Walkman, but in a totally different way. I loved having a Walkman in the 80s, pressing the forward and back button and play button. Those of you who know. But when the iPod came out, it was a totally new thing. They'd taken something that was a concept before and turned it into something that was completely, again, innovative, new, sleek and classy. So, you might have an idea from something you've seen before that people have done, but you've got a totally different angle and take on it. That is totally fine. It's not copying because you've drawn inspiration from that. And we see that all the time when people have created and upgraded and upscaled different products. So as I finish this episode, I really just want to encourage those of you who are really passionate about ideas or have ideas for things and never act on them to start acting on your ideas. Because you don't know if the idea that you have could lead to a new opportunity for you, a new source of income, a new job role. You just don't know. Don't be afraid to act on your ideas. The Bible scripture I want to share with you this week comes from Deuteronomy 8:18 in the New King James Version, and it says, "And you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers as it is this day." So that Bible scripture is really just talking about ideas. He's the one that gives us skills, talents and experiences to create wealth. So that is it for this episode. I hope that you found it something of value to you. This is just something that I wanted to put together about 8 things creative people do with their ideas to encourage you to act on your ideas. If you want to share with me anything, I will do a post notification on Yemi Empowerment, which is YEME_empowerment. And as I do this episode notification, if you want to share anything with me about ideas, please feel free to leave me a comment. Please feel free to DM me. I'll also share the notification on my Facebook and Twitter page by the same name, Yemi Empowerment. And I will also leave links to my book, Into the Unknown, which is about having courage to do new and different things, and also to the Courage course, which is to help you develop an action plan to develop courage. I will leave links to all that in the show notes below. So that is it for this episode. Take care.